Another week of Cardinals baseball officially in the books. Welcome back to Cardinal Territory, your official St. Louis Cardinals podcast as part of the Foul Territory Network. I'm your host, Katie Wu, breaking down a quick trip to the Queen City, a 3-game road trip to Cincinnati. The Cardinals take 2 of 3 from the Reds at Great American Ballpark. They won the first 2 games, but are unable to complete the sweep and fall 7-4 on Sunday afternoon. The Cardinals are now 68-70 with officially 4 weeks remaining in the season, which is crazy that we are about to be in September. I feel like the season goes by fast every year, but this one, it felt especially quick, and I'm not sure why, because it was a particularly trying season. But it always feels a little bittersweet when September starts approaching and you know you're likely not covering a playoff team and the end of the season is nearing. It just, I don't know, it always gets me going, but plenty of time to be sentimental and talk baseball. So we will start with the big news and the big story this series. It was 2 roster moves, namely 2 top prospect promotions. Congratulations to Jimmy Crooks and César Prieto, which if you don't know already, were selected to the Major League roster before the series began on Friday. They both made their Major League debuts in Friday's 7-5 win in 10 innings against the Reds, and both got their first career starts this afternoon. Prieto beat out an infield single in the later innings for his first big league hit. Crooks, on the other hand, no big deal, just swatted a solo shot in the 7th for his first major league hit, and that is always super special, even more so when it comes as a big fly. And yes, for the inquiring minds at home, the Cardinals were able to secure that ball back from a fan in right field. The ball was sitting on manager Ollie Marmol's desk when reporters came in after the game. So congratulations to both of those players, names that we've been monitoring down in Memphis for a while. Crooks and Prieto, both top 20 prospects entering the season. Per the Athletics' Keith Law, Jimmy Crooks was number 8 in the organization, Prieto number 15. Let's talk a little bit about the corresponding moves first and how we got here before we go back to what we can expect from Crooks and Prieto to finish out the season. The corresponding moves were not great. Alec Burleson hit the 10-day IL with right wrist inflammation. Joel Pozo placed on the IL with a concussion. He's on the 7-day concussion injured list. Burleson is on the 10-day IL. Neither injury should keep either player out too long, but certainly not ideal, especially for Burleson, who has been arguably the team's most consistent hitter. Now, these were 2 injuries that the Cardinals didn't really see coming on Thursday. This is when it first was brought to the organization's attention that some IL stints would be necessary. Burleson missed 1 game last week against the Rays, dealing with that right wrist soreness, but was able to play through, swatted a walk-off homer on Monday against the Pirates, and just kind of was day-to-day. But on Thursday, he described it as feeling the wrist feeling as painful as it had been. He was unable to finish the game, was pulled for a defensive replacement in the 8th. Pozo also played in Thursday's game. He got struck pretty hard by a foul tip in the 3rd inning, remained on the ground for several minutes, ultimately finished the game, but was clear after that he did have a concussion, so the team placed him on the concussion injured list. Burleson got some anti-inflammatory injection. Pozo progressing well back in St. Louis. Ollie Marmol believes they should not miss more than the minimum amount of time on their respective stints, so that's good. We'll do an injury. Let's just do the injury rundown now because we're already on the topic. Nolan Arenado will be in St. Louis on Wednesday. I believe that's the 3rd, to get evaluated by the Cardinals medical staff, and then the team will decide if he's ready to go on a rehab assignment or not. The team does expect Arenado to play again this season, targeting potentially a mid-September return. So that will be good news. Brendan Donovan continues to progress at home. Cardinals, again, think he'll be back before the end of the season, but no real update in terms of a rehab assignment. Victor Scott II began a rehab assignment of his own with Springfield on Friday, played again today. Cardinals are awaiting further word to see if he'll be able to be activated before Monday's game, early game against the A's for Labor Day. That is a rare Monday day game. If that is the case, it would be pretty obvious that he would be the September 1st expansion roster move. We'll get to those moves, what they could be later in the show. So that's your Cardinals injury update. I think I'm missing a couple. Yes, Riley O'Brien is a candidate to go on the 15-day IL. He is dealing with some fatigue, some pinched nerve, something in his right lat. So he has not been able to recover 100%. He was unavailable the last 2 games in Cincinnati. So the Cardinals are discussing whether or not they'll need to place O'Brien on the IL, and what that will mean for more roster expansion candidates possibilities we will get to again later in the show. But first, it's time for our DraftKings player spotlight, except we're going to switch it up a little bit. Instead of spotlighting one player, we're going to spotlight two. Let's get to know a little bit more about Jimmy Crooks and César Prieto, shall we? All right. So if you don't know, now you do. The Cardinals will plan on using both Crooks and Prieto in a consistent amount of time throughout the season. They won't necessarily be everyday starters. Manager Ollie Marmol will not commit to a clear-cut playing time in Jimmy Crooks' case with Pedro Pages, who is still expected to see a considerable amount of reps. He's had a good August, by far his most impressive offensive month of the season. But that doesn't mean that the Cardinals don't want to see more of Jimmy Crooks. We talked to Ollie Marmol on Friday, the visiting reporters in Cincinnati, and said the biggest thing for Jimmy, who could be a big piece for this club's future, is the organization just wants to see where he's at. They want to see, in Crooks's case, how does he game plan a game? How does he deviate from it? How does he commit to it? When does he make a call to change things up and adapt in the game? How does he recover? Things like that, things that you can't really evaluate from a player in AAA. Prieto is more of a depth infielder. The Cardinals, stop me if you heard this before, they have a ton of lefties. So adding two more in Prieto and Crooks complicates a little bit of things from the lineup perspective, but Gorman, Sajasi, Mason Wynn should see the bulk of the reps in the infield, but Prieto can play all three positions, third base, second base, and shortstop. So he'll be able to kind of slot in and give breathers to players when necessary. That will be especially important in Mason Wynn's case. As we know, he's been a little banged up. Cardinals do not believe that they are putting him at any risk with that sore knee for next season. It's just something they're going to have to monitor, manage workload, and keep into consideration. So maybe a couple more rest days for when the necessary, but that does allow Prieto to play and kind of helps all around. So on days that Mason Wynn, like today, is not in the starting lineup, you'll see Sajasi at shortstop most likely and Prieto at second. Gorman will stay at third. How this complicates when/if Donovan Arenado come back, we will get there. Right now, off the top of my head, the Cardinals have Donovan, Burleson, Nootbaar, Gorman, Crooks, Prieto, Scott, Church, all left-handed hitters in the mix. I'm probably missing one maybe. That won't be the case. These things will eventually sort themselves out in terms of which lefties stay up and which don't. But for right now, expect to see Prieto kind of used as that depth option for Ollie Marmol throughout the infield. Not sure how the playing time for this upcoming series against the A's will look. Again, it's a 3-game set, Monday day game, a night game Tuesday, night game Wednesday, and an off day on Thursday. So ample time for rest after this quick turnaround tomorrow. I would expect to see Crooks in there at least a couple times this week, though, because evaluation as the Cardinals pivot to 2026 and beyond will become the focal point of the season. It honestly already has been for the last few weeks. Jimmy Crooks is absolutely going to be a part of that. Ivan Herrera. It's funny because I feel like we talk about this on almost every episode, how the Cardinals have a redundancy problem. They certainly have that at catcher. The Cardinals are not moving Ivan Herrera off of catcher permanently just for the season, as we talked about earlier in the year. But when you look at how the catching is shaping up for 2026, Herrera, Pages, Crooks seem to be the front runners there. I'm not sure what this means for Pozo, who is could be just a depth option in AAA if his contract status allows for that. But it is important for this team to figure out what they have in Jimmy Crooks so that they can accurately start planning for 2026 and beyond. That includes what they will do with Pedro Pages and where they'll play Ivan Herrera on the field next year. Because as impressive as he's been at the plate, the Cardinals cannot afford to have another sole strict designated hitter. But if you've been watching the show, you know how I feel about that, so I won't waste any more of your time. All right, if you don't know already, you can play DraftKings Pick 6. Super easy. We have no lines available for Monday's games yet, but there are 13 Major League games in action tomorrow, almost a full slate of games for the holiday. So go ahead, take your picks. Bernie, as you guys know, huge fan of DraftKings Pick 6, easy to play, allegedly easy to win. I'm not allowed to bet, so I wouldn't know, but go ahead and check it out. Again, 13 games to choose from MLB. Just pick 2 players, and if they both hit their over, then you win. Yay. Who doesn't love that?
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Must be 18 and over. Age and eligibility restrictions vary by jurisdiction. Void where prohibited. New customers only. Minimum $5 deposit. Bonus picks expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see pick6.draftkings.com/promos.
All right, so I definitely did that out of order. I was supposed to read this first. Here's a quick disclaimer. You can download the DraftKings Pick 6 app right now and use code FOUL. That's code FOUL. Register a new account and get $50 in bonus picks instantly. Ride the upside where a few bucks can turn into a bag only on DraftKings. Pick 6, the crown is yours. Just act like I did that in the right order. All right, we'll hear from DraftKings, a quick message from them one more time so that we're all on the same page, and then we'll get into some September roster expansion talk. NFL fans, week 1 just became your place to play free and grow the bag. DraftKings Pick 6, an official partner of the NFL, is here with Bag Builder, a completely free way to play for a share of $1 million or more in cash. Think you can stack some cash? Here's how it works. Download the Pick 6 app, DraftKings' easiest way to play fantasy, using code FOUL. Enter for free. Just make 6 picks, more or less, on player stats for week 1. That's it. It's that simple. No entry fee, no catch. As the player count goes up, so does the prize. Hit all 6 of your picks, and you'll be splitting a bag that's already at $1 million or more. Don't just sit back, get in for free, build the bag, and run it up. Download the DraftKings Pick 6 app, use code FOUL, opt in, and start stacking entries for NFL Week 1. Zero cost, huge upside in partnership with DraftKings Pick 6. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org in Connecticut. Must be 18 plus. Age and eligibility restrictions vary by jurisdiction. Pick 6 not available everywhere, including New York and Ontario. Void where prohibited. Must claim token for free entry in Bag Builder contest. Only perfect entries earn share of cash prize. Tokens are single use and expire September 8th at 8:15 p.m. Eastern. Terms at pick6.draftkings.com/promos. I promise you guys, I would not be able to record that again in the allotted amount of time. That was truly some of my most locked in work over the last 2 weeks, and I'm not kidding. That took a lot. All right, back to the show. Who are the September roster expansion candidates? We will know that by roughly 10:30 a.m. Central Time tomorrow. The Cardinals will, across baseball, not just the Cardinals, Major League active rosters will expand from 26 players to 28. Gone are the days where the floodgates opened and you had 40 players up on the roster. That was super fun. Now roster expansion days are a little less cool, but still certainly something to monitor when you look at what the Cardinals are looking to do. The kind of like lame part of this is that the big names that we were excited to see on this day are actually already here because Crooks and Prieto were going to be under consideration. Crooks especially for that roster expansion spot. And maybe we'd see Prieto later depending on need. The Cardinals, all teams in baseball, get one extra position player and one extra pitcher for this roster expansion. I was under the assumption or under the belief that Jimmy Crooks was going to be here regardless of an injury on Monday. So like we talked about, Victor Scott II started his rehab assignment with Springfield. It would be very surprising if the Cardinals do not activate him for Monday off the injured list. He was dealing with that left ankle sprain 2 weeks ago against the Yankees, but recovered fairly quickly, got into a couple of rehab games in Springfield over the weekend. The Cardinals were waiting to hear back from how Vic played because Springfield's game had not ended before the Cardinals game in Cincinnati did today. So waiting for an injury. We're waiting for a progress report on Victor Scott's injury before making that move official, but the organization would be very surprised if Victor Scott was not activated tomorrow, and so would I. So that takes care. I'm having a hard time speaking at the moment. I don't know why. That takes care of the position side. Now, the Cardinals could have a chance for 2 spots on the pitching side because like we mentioned, there is a chance that Riley O'Brien hits the IL. So the Cardinals would need to backfill his spot, of course, and then add one more arm per the pitcher expansion spot. 4 names under consideration for at least 1, maybe 2 openings. They are Chris Roycroft, Rodri Munoz, Anthony Veneziano, and Curtis Taylor. We have seen 3 out of 4. Curtis Taylor is having a very nice season for AAA Memphis as one of their depth starters. The Cardinals could use him either way, both as length in the bullpen should they select him, or as a spot starter in the rotation. I do not believe there are going to be any openings in the rotation today. Andre Palante threw 5 innings, tagged for 5 runs, but only 2 were earned. An unfortunate error by César Prieto led to 3 runs early in the game that were not charged to Palante. 4 walks, but 6 strikeouts, and all, the box score isn't dazzling, but those things point to progress, and that's what the Cardinals are hoping to see with Palante. So a better outing from him in terms of what he's looking to work on. Still some ways to go, but I do believe that he will continue staying in the rotation, which means if the Cardinals do select Curtis Taylor, I'm not quite sure where he would fit. They will definitely have to add 1 arm, maybe 2, again, depending on Riley O'Brien's status. You can make an argument for really any of those guys, but I feel Veneziano because he would be a lefty And the Cardinals, again, are back to having only one left-handed reliever. And Jojo Romero, John King hit the IL earlier in the week for the second time this month. So Cardinals playing shorthanded. And that actually really came into play today with their bullpen. Many guys down. Jojo unavailable, Kyle Leahy unavailable, O'Brien obviously unavailable, Matt Swanson unavailable. Ollie Marmol said before the game he had 3 relievers that could go, all with different workloads. Jorge Alcala not available. So it was really down to Gordon Graceffo, and they used him max. He had nothing left after he was taken out of the game. And Andre Granillo was an option there as well. And I do not believe Ryan Fernandez was live. I think they were trying to stay away from him also. So a patchwork bullpen game. Hopefully St. Louis can replenish their relievers. Again, expect 1. I would expect 2. I would be surprised if O'Brien did not end up on the injured list just based on how unavailable he was this weekend and the lack of recovery. So things to monitor there. You'll notice a name I did not say. Sorry, you're going to hate this part of the show. I did not mention J.J. Weatherholt, top prospect, tearing it up in Memphis this season. He has not been under a consideration for a call-up at any point so far this season. I know you hate it. This is terrible. I get it. I, like you, would love to see J.J. Weatherholt up here, but it's much more complex than just his service time and starting his clock. There are so many ulterior things here. The biggest one being that John Mozeliak still sets the major league roster. J.J. Weatherholt is Chaim Bloom's decision on when to start his service time, when to start his clock, when to use him, what's best for his development. So this is kind of the weird awkwardness in a transition year. Mo is making the decisions for the major league club, but J.J. Weatherholt is very much a part of Chaim's core of players. So I'm not sure if it's really Mo's. Well, on paper, of course, it's Mo's decision to make. He is in charge of the active roster. I think there is some back and forth on what's best for JJ and what Chaim would like JJ's service time to look like and the beginning of his career to look like. And that's ultimately going to be Chaim's decision. So it's complicated. I know it's the Cardinals, but you thought it was going to be simple. Anyway, I'm just here to tell you to spoil your party. Don't count on a JJ Weatherholt promotion anytime soon. It has not been discussed. Prieto was going to be the infielder they called up if they needed to. And we saw that they did. So kind of a boring roster expansion explanation because we're not going to see most likely any new names that we haven't already. The only thing that could change the position play inside in this is Wilson Contreras' suspension. As we talked about in our last episode with Bernie, he is in the middle of appealing a 6-game suspension by Major League Baseball for that, sketch little altercation with home plate umpire Derek Thomas last week against the Pirates. Still have not heard back from MLB on if that appeal was approved, if the suspension will be reduced. When that comes into place, the Cardinals will have to obviously not have Contreras, and they cannot backfill his absence. They will play a man short. So I do not believe Major League Baseball will make that decision on Labor Day, a holiday. Maybe we have some better clarity on what that looks like starting Tuesday. So I would expect that this roster doesn't stay this way, by the way, just based on the amount of players that we talked about earlier in the show coming off the injured list. When Alec Burleson's ready to go, they're going to bring him. When Brendan Donovan's ready to go, they're going to bring him. When Nolan Arenado is ready to go, they're going to bring him. So some of these guys, and this is just speculation, but some guys like Prieto, like Sajaci, might not be here to finish the season. That's why it's important for them to seize the time that they have right now. I think Thomas Sajaci has done a really nice job in particular of doing so. All right, let's hear from our friends at Arena Club and we'll wrap this show up. We'll be right back.
Okay, KP, this is your first Arena Club experience. We're going to open a slab pack together. So first off, we're going to buy one of those $25 slab packs, and we get to see what is in the pack. There it is. The Grail, which is the best card in the pack and worth the most. There are some other cards that we're chasing, and you can see the entire lineup so that you know what you're in the running for. There's the Yamamoto signed card. Now, let's open up our pack and see how we do. We have ourselves a really cool graphic, and then a Shohei Ohtani 50-50 card from last year. What do you want to do? Should we sell it right back to them for 16, or should we keep it?
You should give it to me. I'll keep it.
Good answer. Fine, I will give it to you. Since the Blue Jays didn't get Ohtani, you can get this 50-50 card instead. Use the code FOUL, F-O-U-L, to get yourself 20% off your first slab pack or card purchase. Yes, you get to keep that card if you want it. They send it to you. FOUL at arenaclub.com/foul.
All right, wrapping up this quick Sunday episode for you guys. Cardinals A's on deck. I will always want to call them the Oakland Athletics. That is the Bay Area in me, but sadly that no longer exists. So it's the No City A's. Though they play in Sacramento, they have no affiliation with a city for the next 3 years until they go to Vegas, allegedly, in 2020, 8? I don't know. I still don't think they're going to Vegas, but that's just me being a hater. Off day on Thursday, and then the Giants come to town. So a Northern California week here at Busch Stadium. That's something near and dear to my heart, of course. We'll see Sonny Gray, Miles Michaelis, and Matthew Liberatore against the A's. So act accordingly. Bernie and I will be back early next week. We'll get some 3 episodes out here. I have some really fun guests planned. I know that August we were a little light on player and staff interviews, so I'm going to make it up to you guys as we finish out the final 4 weeks of the regular season. Just 2 homestands left and 4 road cities. That is crazy, and it will absolutely fly by, especially as we get closer to the end of the season. I expect to have much more clarity about what the Chaim Bloom transition will actually look like. For those of you looking for a preview, you can do so at theathletic.com/Cardinals. There is a mailbag up there focusing on a little bit of what Chaim Bloom and Rob Cerfolio have been doing behind the scenes in the Cardinals minor league and player development system. Check it out. As always, here for your feedback, comments, questions, concerns, all of the above. Bernie and I back with you very soon. Have a great week. Thanks for watching.